Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. This is Elkton injury attorney Jobeth Bowers, your Monday morning lawyer, coming at you with another episode. This week, we're going to talk about some accident and injury stuff. We are going to talk about one of the big questions. I mean, everything that comes into this podcast ends up being a big question that I get over and over again from clients and prospective clients via email or however people choose to reach out to me about these accident cases. Today's topic, we're going to talk about how everything involving an accident case gets paid for. Now, this is going to be an episode that includes kind of some overall general topic. And then there will probably be, because again, my desire is to keep these podcast episodes to 15, 20, no more than 25 minutes. And really only the 25-minute ones are if we have a guest on that is specializing in a specific topic. So I don't want to go too deep into these because the topics that we're going to talk about of how things in an accident case get paid for will eventually be broken down, and we'll go more in depth into each one. First and foremost, something that I'm going to start doing here is plugging events and things like that from the community. Last week, I talked about the Build-A-Burger event that is coming up this week, Wednesday, for Youth Empowerment Source. So I'll just mention that again real quick. That's this Wednesday, but I'm not going to say too much about it because the tickets are done. So you can't get tickets to that anymore. But if you are coming, come see me. Let's say hi. I'd love to see you out there. I will be there. So the event that I want to talk about now, this one's coming up in a little less than 2 weeks. This is Saturday, April 27th. This is a fundraiser show that the Northeast High School Marching Band is putting on. You may be, if you're locally in the area, familiar with the fact that there are a ton of issues right now surrounding funding programs with our local schools, everything K through 12, and really this is starting to creep into Cecil College as well. This is a mind reading and hypnosis show. It's a 2-act show that is going to be at the high school. They've got a stage in their cafeteria. Tickets are on sale if you go to the website betweentwominds.com. As you can see there in the poster, tickets are still available. So that'd be great. I will be out there, and you'll be able to see me. So come hang out. Have your mind read, get hypnotized, whatever it may be. So that is coming up April 27th. Also, if you have some sort of a community event that is upcoming that you'd like me to feature here, just let me know. Shoot me a message the same way that you would try to communicate with me about a specific question, and we will see what we could do to answer that. So without further ado, I want to get into today's topic because I want to keep this somewhat brief and topical. Auto accident. We're going to talk about how things after an auto accident get paid for. And I think before we get started into how they get paid for, we should probably go over the types of things that need to be paid for. What is something that is due compensation when it comes to an injury claim? And I am going to divide and conquer here. We are not going to talk today about physical damage to the vehicle. That's just a different topic for a different day. We are going to talk about those things related to injuries as a result of an auto accident. So those injuries, obviously, a lot of the accidents that we deal with involve injuries. So the types of things that could be included, I'm going to keep this as generic as possible so we can get into how they get paid for, more so what they are. But again, the brief overview is super important. Medical bills. So everything from an ambulance ride to the hospital, what they do at the hospital. You're likely from that point going to get referred one of two places, maybe both, either to your primary care doctor to follow up. to physical therapy. It's also possible if you have a more severe injury, a fracture or something of that nature, or if they suspect at the hospital that something more serious is going on, you may be referred out day one to an orthopedist. So you may have a specialist referral day one. It may just be physical therapy. It may be your primary care doctor, because every single one of these claims, every set of injuries is totally different. So knowing exactly what that referral path looks like, I can't predict that without knowing more about what happened. So physical therapy, you may miss some time from work. And then, of course, down the line with that medical care, you're going to link up with whichever doctor is kind of steering the ship, whether that be the orthopedic doctor, whether that be your primary care doctor, whether there's a medical doctor that's associated with the physical therapist, or whether it's the physical therapist themselves that may direct your care and your treatment from that. So those are really a whole bunch of things that pretty much factor into the injury claim, as far as things that actually need to be paid for. Now, there are plenty of other factors that go into what makes up a settlement. We've talked about those in the past. We will no doubt talk about those numerous times in the future. But today we're talking about, how does the stuff that needs to get paid for get paid for? And there's a couple different ways, and all of these potentially come into play in an accident case. And the important thing to note with respect to these accident cases is that if you hire right away, as soon as you know that there are injuries, you should be contacting my office. If you're here in Cecil County, or even if you're not here in Cecil County, but you want somehow for me to put you in touch with somebody that's going to be able to take care of this for you, any referral that comes from me is going to be somebody that I know is going to handle every element of this case for you correctly in the way that it should be. This includes stuff that's out of state. I've got a growing list of connections in my network, especially when it comes to Pennsylvania and Delaware, because they're right there in my backyard. I've got a myriad of options of folks that you can deal with and work with, and will take really good care of you. Some of these folks I've been working with for years and years and years, so I know they're going to take care of you because I've seen the results of it over the years. I mean, one of these firms I've worked with for over 10 years, so I know that they're going to take care of you. But outside of that, the stuff that I'm going to talk about here is very specific to Maryland, because different states have different rules, different things that will impact the value of your claim. And understand that everything that I'm going to advise anybody to do when they contact my office is going to be with their best interest in mind. My job is to make sure that you're getting the medical care that you need to get you feeling better, as close to the day before that accident happened as possible, maybe even better sometimes, because let's be real, who out here is walking around like a spring chicken? We all have bumps and bruises and things that we're dealing with. The older we get, it doesn't take necessarily an acute injury like an auto accident for us to not feel 100%. So sometimes you just bear the benefit of, maybe you were only at 80% because life, but the physical therapy and the process that goes into it gets you feeling even better than you were before. So good on that. But then the secondary job is to make sure that gets paid for, and to make sure that my clients get compensated for having to deal with any of this. Like, you're probably watching this video not because you like me. Maybe you are. There's some live people on here, but you may be watching this video because you were recently in an accident. You have questions. Asking those questions to the internet brought you here. You have better things to do than watch this video. Or you got better things to do than come into my office and hang out with me and my staff so we get all the information that we need to represent you. You got better things to do than to go to doctors and physical therapy. And obviously there are impacts to your life. So our job is to make sure that if everything gets paid for, but also compensate you for having to put up with any of this. So I'm going to mention these in an order that I like to think is the order that they should be in. And when I handle things in my office from day one, if the first phone call that's made after emergency services is to my office, meaning that nobody's called any insurance companies auto-wise until they call my office and let us do all of that work, because you should. Why not? Why do something that you could just have me do? The cost ends up being the same because we don't bill hourly for these cases, not what we're talking about today. But ultimately, if I'm steering the ship, I want any and all of the medical care that you receive to be paid for initially by your health insurance company. And I know that might seem a little counterintuitive. Like, why would this was an auto accident? Why should my insurance pay for it? Well, there's some very good reason for that. Number one, your health insurance is going to pay for this stuff almost right away. You know, they've got a contractual time from which they receive the bills and will process them, but you're basically getting those paid as the care happens. So making sure that you're going to a medical provider that is in network, that's going to take your health insurance, super important. It's going to keep any bills that you have, because the auto accident settlement doesn't come till the very end. So the bills don't get paid by the at-fault insurance company incrementally. There's only one settlement at the very end. So by using your health insurance, everything gets paid timely. You don't have to worry about things going to collections. But that's not the main reason why I want my clients using their health insurance. The reason I want my clients using their health insurance is because it's going to help me put more money in my client's pocket at the end of the case. Now, again, this is very Maryland specific. Different states treat this differently. So again, it's best to just call an attorney, make sure that they're guiding you. If you have an accident that's in a different state, it's not uncommon that you'll be hearing a different order of operations for the way that things should get paid in that other state, because again, it's not the same as Maryland. But in Maryland, what I want to see happen is health insurance pay those bills, because number one, it gets those bills paid. That's the simplest thing. You want that stuff taken care of. A lot of health insurance companies, in fact, most health insurance companies, are actually entitled. This is another thing that doesn't always make sense to all of my clients, but they're actually entitled to be reimbursed. And our office handles that. You don't have to deal with it if there's a settlement on an accident case where somebody else is at fault, like what we deal with. But the important thing to note with that is that you're not paying back the full amount of what the medical bill was. So I'm going to show you this as an example. This comes from an itemization. This is partial of an itemization that was sent to our office. There's no private information. There's nothing here that I'm disclosing that is really going to breach anybody's confidentiality. This is just an example. I'm going to show kind of where the benefit comes for my client using this. So here's an example of some local medical bills that were run through somebody's health insurance. Let me get my logo off of there. You're going to see the billed amount column. You're going to see that the hospital bill at Union Hospital was $573. The primary care, that looks like it's for different procedures, because I don't think the primary care doctor was charging $30-some. Those are probably for different procedures that were performed at the visit. So those are about $40 a pop. So the grand total just for 3 bills here was $648. When we go to negotiate a settlement in this case, or if we take it to trial, we're going to be submitting to the insurance company, the auto insurance company who's at fault to consider for settlement, $648. These bills are paid in full because of contract pricing that the health insurance company and the doctor have, or the hospital, whatever it is. They paid a whole $25 to satisfy these bills, which means at the end of the case, we're negotiating a settlement based on at least $648, but my client only has to pay out $25. It's a big win for my client. That over $600 ultimately goes directly into my client's pocket when we settle the case. So that's the primary way in which some of this treatment is paid for, in the process. Health insurance. I will urge this to all of my clients. I will show examples like this. I've got a big poster board in my conference room with a whole bunch more bills on an older statement that has a whole lot of different stuff on to really show and illustrate how little the health insurance pays, which to you is a great benefit. So that's step number one. Step number two, personal injury protection coverage. This is a type of coverage that is a no-fault coverage on your own insurance policy. Again, this falls into that category, this common question from many of my clients. Somebody else was at fault. Why am I paying for this? Well, this is a no-fault coverage. If you go through the blog on my website on bowerslawmd.com, you will find countless articles and entries of me talking about personal injury protection coverage, how important it is to make sure that you have it, because this is something that you can waive in Maryland. You should not do that. Also, how inexpensive it is to add a lot of this coverage. So here's the thing. We could take that $600 bill, $600 worth of bills. We can submit that to the personal injury protection coverage. Generally, you have up to $2,500 of that coverage. We, as the attorney, on behalf of the client, get to dictate where that money goes. So we have the ability to say, hey, here's medical bills, auto insurance company, with your no-fault coverage. Our client wants you to send that money to my office so that we can take care of that bill. They'll send that $648 to my office. And obviously different numbers because every accident's different. There's usually a lot more medical care than just a hospital and a primary care visit. We'll take the $648. That's our client's money. We will charge them no fee to do this. We'll pay off that $25 that the health insurance company wants. But wait, we'll actually negotiate that $25 down. We'll probably end up only paying them like $16 or $18. The rest of that money goes to our client. Our client's already putting money in their pocket, and we haven't settled the case yet. Yes, if a client comes to us and says, hey, do everything, you make all of the calls. The only thing I'm going to do is go to the doctor and I'm going to start feeling better and I'm going to work with them. You take care of everything else. Sometimes I've seen a $10,000 swing positive to my client's benefit by letting us handle absolutely everything from day one. So if you've been injured and you're in an accident, that phone number right down there, hey, look, I pointed the right place this time. That 885-6200 number, save that in your phone now. Save that in your phone. If you ever get in an accident, call us right away. That's what we do. That's what we're here for. We will navigate all of this stuff for you. So we've talked about personal injury protection paying stuff, letting us manage that. We've talked about health insurance and the great benefit that is. I mean, look at these numbers. This is ridiculous. $648 worth of bills, but you only end up having to pay $25.46. Tell me that happens anywhere else in the world. Tell me in this economy that happens anywhere but having my office deal with your accident case and telling you what to do and in what order. The final place that things really come from, well, there's kind of a middle ground. There's also something that you can get with some auto insurance companies called MedPay. It is very similar to the personal injury protection coverage. That MedPay is added on top of it, and it also goes to use to pay for medical bills. It also can be used in that way where all the money comes to the attorney. We hold it safe for you. We pay off the health insurance company out of that, which actually ends up putting more money in your pocket. And the final place that this stuff gets paid for is the settlement. Throughout the process, part of what we do in this office is set everything up, collect all the medical bills, make sure that they get paid in the ways that they need to get paid. We're doing it in a way that's going to benefit our client more so than anything else. Yeah, I know me saying this pisses off some medical doctors. It does, but we don't represent them. We have relationships with medical doctors. We have relationships with physical therapists. We're going to help our clients get the care that they need. But my loyalty is to my client. I represent my client's best interest. And, we want to make sure that we're taking care of our client as best possible. The final step in this process is settling this case or taking it to trial and getting a verdict. That means the insurance company who caused this accident sends our office a check on behalf of our client. any medical bills that didn't get paid in any of those ways that we've already described, because sometimes you just can't go to a physical therapist that accepts your health insurance. We're in Cecil County. A lot of times, not everybody takes every insurance. We'll help you find somebody that does. If that's not possible, then it's going to get paid out of the settlement. We'll make sure that those folks don't send you to collections, and we'll get everything taken care of at the end. But ultimately, that is the final way in which stuff gets paid for. If there's anything left, or if the health insurance company needs to be paid back, they're going to be paid back out of that settlement. Our attorney's fees, any expenses that we incur for collecting documents, a lot of times those expenses, if we're not filing a lawsuit in the case, are getting police reports, getting medical records, putting insurance companies on notice using certified mail. They're usually relatively nominal fees. It doesn't get super expensive on the fee side until we have to file a lawsuit in one of these cases. Not what we're talking about today, but all that stuff gets reimbursed out of the settlement. That's where the attorney's fees come from. That's why you don't pay us money up front. We get paid when we settle your case from that check that the insurance company gives. So that's kind of the rundown on everything, because ultimately what we're doing is handing our client a check at the end. They get three things, really. They get better, but we're not doing that. We're not the doctors. They get better. Number two, they get a check at the end. Number three, they get peace of mind that everything along the way has been handled and has been taken care of. They're going to get a breakdown that shows every medical bill, how it got paid, and it's going to confirm that at least by the checks that are sitting here in my office that get mailed out after the client comes in and gets their check, that everything's going to get taken care of. They're not going to owe anybody anything related to this accident anymore. So that's the rundown. That's everything that we have to talk about today. We certainly went a little longer than I normally like to go, but there's a lot going on with this. In the future, I'm going to get more into that personal injury protection coverage. I'm going to get more into how the health insurance works. Although we did the illustration that we gave today tells really the bulk of the story. You get to save a lot of money, and that money goes into your pocket. Whether or not I can maneuver the PIP and the MedPay for you or not doesn't matter. I like it if that PIP and that MedPay goes toward your wage loss, because a lot of times that's where we want that to go first. If you're missing some time from work, again, like the settlement, it's not coming till the end. So if we can get you some of that personal injury protection coverage to cover some of the time that you missed from work because of your injuries, we're going to do that. And again, that's another topic that we'll talk about more specifically in a future episode. So without further ado, again, make sure you like and subscribe this stuff, spread the word. The podcast will be available on YouTube even after it airs live. If you have questions that you want me to cover about any topic at all, info@bowerslawmd.com. Send me an email with a topic. If it's not something that I know about, which is very, very much auto accidents and injuries here in Maryland, I will arrange to have a guest on the show. That way with us and that guest, we can talk about that. Also, one other final thing, just a reminder to that show, if you go to betweentwominds.com, you'll be able to get tickets to this upcoming fundraiser event that supports the Northeast High School Marching Band. It's going to be a really cool show. Almost all the money goes to them. The performers get paid a very small percentage of that, and 80 or 90% of that money goes to the organization. So help out a good cause and see a fun show. And until next time, this is your Monday Morning Lawyer. Be well. Have a great day.